Hey guys, Mark here from Bonsai Boards. Today we finally got a chance to get this review done. So we've got the Magic Shine 600 lumen bike light, which transitions perfectly onto an e-skate. And to do that, we're going to use this Magic Shine helmet mount. So the two together is a perfect fit, works out with the fixings even perfectly with the centers on the truck base. So it really doesn't get any better, and as you know, we're all about balling on a budget here. So there are really expensive alternatives out there on the market that are fantastic quality, fantastic brands and great to use. But if you don't have to spend the money and you can get the same outcome, why? All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the products, check them out. Start off with the Magic Shine helmet mount. See what we get in the box. All right, put that to the side. Couple of straps, obviously, slots, couple of straps to go around your helmet, but we won't be using those. We're going to be putting this directly onto our truck base, and the centers work out exactly the same. I've already got one on this deck here at the moment. I've got the 500 lumen version on here. I'm going to be taking that off, stripping it all back down, and we're going to be doing an install video as well in with this review. Next, we've got the light itself. We'll check this out. Put that back. Get rid of that. A couple of straps here as well. All right, so in with the light. We get the light itself, tidy little unit, well made, solid construction, feels really heavy and good in the hand. You've also got a handlebar mount, which I guess if you wanted to, you could work that into a truck mount system, but I think you're a little bit too close when it comes to your clearances, so we're not going to worry about that. USB cord, obviously, rechargeable, and a couple more straps to be used for the mounts. We won't be using those either. Allen key. So before we get into doing anything with the install, I do want to talk about how I've mounted this onto this deck. These slots do line up perfectly with the truck base, but I don't really like the idea of just having a screw sitting on a plastic slot and just having that one point load direct with that load transfer going down, especially if you're going to utilize one of the truck screws to mount it. So I have made up some 3mm aluminium washers here. They're about 30mm long, 10mm wide, 3mm thick. Clearance hole through the middle for a bolt to pass all the way through, and countersunk on the top to keep it flush. You'll see why later on, because there's an adjustment handle on this side. All right, I'm going to get this one stripped off first. Get rid of that. That's the 500 anyway. Tidy little unit, love it. Obsolete too. It's a discontinued product, so you won't be able to get the 500 anymore. It's the 600. Just going to crack those nylocks. I'll have to take that out. This does tilt and swivel as well. You will have to fully remove the locking mechanism for the tilt. And that's a reason why we went with a countersink fitting in the aluminium washer as well. Because once you put the washer on there, you've got about a millimeter clearance. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Just lost the washer. All right, so if you can see that there, that's pretty much what I prefer. With a washer going on completely like that, the load is transferred across the whole base, and that way you're not going to be snapping your base, accidentally kick it, constant vibrations. I think that's just a preferred method, especially if you're not fortunate and you don't have those secondary holes in your deck like we do here, and you are going to use the existing hardware on your truck mount. You don't want to be cranking up onto a plastic base and thinking that it's going to give you the same stability, because I don't think you will. All right guys, I've just changed the camera angle a little bit just to give you a clearer picture of what's going on. We've got our two aluminium washers, 30mm long, 10mm wide, 3mm thick, and countersunk to take our countersunk bolts. Bolts are M4 by 40mm. I've gone with stainless because that's what I had that in the workshop, so don't have to use stainless. Zinc plated's fine. Black anodized or colored anodized from the skateboard shop. Deck hardware, it's all exactly the same. It doesn't matter what you use. Nylock nuts, going with the nylock nuts. Anything to do with vibration, you always want to use a nylock nut. Couple of washers, we don't need that. That's the adjustment for the tilt control, and we'll put the helmet mount and the light to the side. This here, I just had an old riser pad, just a spacer, so I've just cut that down to suit and just drilled a couple more holes in it. So the first thing we're going to do is just position that on the deck like that. Like I said, lucky I've got 2 holes here in my deck. If you don't want to drill holes in your deck, which personally I wouldn't, if I didn't have those holes there, I would be using the truck hardware. All you would need to do is take out your existing bolts and select 2 bolts just long enough to accommodate the extra height of the total assembly. All right, so that's in position. Next thing we want to do is just want to get our helmet mount. Make sure that you haven't got it backwards. Do a test first, tilt it forward, and just place that in position. Grab one of your aluminium washers and get that into position, and do exactly the same. Just make sure you got your countersink to the top. And remember, I said before, the whole reason why we went with a countersink and not a surface mount bolt was because that side adjustment, you still need to be able to turn that to lock the tilt, and you've got about 1mm play left after you've done this. Next, we've got washers and nylock nuts. This part's a bit fiddly. If I didn't have the camera on this part now, I'd be flipping the deck around, doing whatever I had to do to make sure that it was as easy as possible, but with the camera being on here, I just got to tough it out. We'll just get those started. You won't be able to get these all the way through because of the nylock, so all you can do is just try and square it up, make sure your threads are true, and just get it started, which is pretty much there. So as that sits now, you can move that around wherever, but I've set this up so that the washer is exactly in line with the base. The transfer of the load goes right through the washer and down into your deck itself. That's going to be solid. All right, we'll just get a bit of tension on these. You don't want to crank it right up yet. Still a little bit tight. So you just want to be able to make sure everything's where it needs to be. Square up your washers, and then you can go for your final position and crank that down. Mount's done. It's mounted in the right way. The light will just clip in, rotate around and lock in. But we've got an issue here because as soon as you remove this, the small nylock nut inside here drops to the bottom. Doesn't matter how much you sit there and spin that, it won't engage. So give me a minute, I'll flip the board over and we'll get this back in, because as soon as you flip the board, the nylock falls back to where it needs to be and you can engage the adjustment screw. Alright guys, I've flipped the deck over. I'm going to take our locking screw. Just going to locate that nylock nut in there. And that's picked up on that perfect already. All right, we got the deck flipped back over. It's back. The adjustment nut is back in its housing. That worked out perfect there. As you can see, that's quite solid. Clip your light on, rotates, clicks into spot. Just back that off a little bit and you can adjust your beam to suit where you want that. And that's pretty much it. You're good to ride. I mean, it's that easy. The fact that a system that is built for bikes transitions so easy to the e-skate world, because those fixing locations line up perfectly with your truck base. It doesn't get any easier, and it's cheap, you know. 60 bucks, I think it was $60 through Pushies online for the 600, $18 for the helmet mount. When you can compare those costs to the high-end options on the market, you know, bowling on a budget, it's the way to go. Another advantage of having a top mount like this is when you do have lights that are mounted on your truck hanger, the lower your light beam is to the surface that you're riding on, the longer it's going to cast shadows on any discrepancies in the road. At least when you're up a bit higher, look, it's not perfect, you're still going to throw shadows, but the higher you are, you can angle it down a bit. You got more chance of picking up on something that you're about to, you know, rock, pothole, whatever it be. You got more chance of seeing it in a true form rather than throwing a shadow over it thinking it's nothing and running into it. So that's pretty much it. Magic Shine ALLTY 600. Cheap, does the job. I love it. Now, before I go, I just want to show you a little something we did the other week. We were in a group ride. One of the riders didn't have any lights, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. Rather than putting anyone at risk, you know, stay lit, don't get hit, I had these sitting in the car. So these are the hardcore camping lights. Now, you're going to laugh at this, but these actually worked out perfect. We grabbed two of the lights, mounted them on the truck hangers. I mean, I'm all for bowling on a budget, but this is taking things a bit far. I don't recommend this as a permanent setup at all. But we kept him at the back of the pack. That way he could follow the safe line that all the other riders were on. But it gave him at least that much. Now on the rear, you just go through your functions and you get to the orange light that you use when you're camping to keep the bugs away. We threw one of those onto the bash guard on the back, and he had front and rear lights. Like I said, not a permanent setup, but from now on, these are staying in the car all the time, because guaranteed, you know, you're going to be with the crew, you're going to want to go for a night ride, someone's not going to have lights, and that's just going to keep everyone safe. That's pretty much it for this first part. Next part, we'll be going over the Rock Bros rear LED rechargeable red light. So that, with the Magic Shine, completes the setup, keeps you safe, not a problem.